We have a lot of info regarding the final shape to discuss, so if you don't want spoilers, just skip to the timestamp on screen right now. Today, we're going over the brand new article detailing specifics of the new Prismatic subclass, the new race of enemies and exotic class items from yesterday's livestream, and then all of the normal weekly reset information, like featured activities, Into the Light, and Eververse. Let's start off with today's Prismatic article. Coming in the final shape, us Guardians will be able to master both the light and dark by being able to wield both at the same time, taking core components from all subclasses. To make it all balanced, not just better than traditional mono subclasses, Prismatic won't have all abilities available. It'll be a curated list of melees, grenades, supers, and aspects from all of the other subclasses. So Titans, you won't be able to stack Roaring Flames with Banner of War. These curated kits will help fulfill the class's identity. Hunters being about evasiveness and maneuverability, Titans excelling at disabling and then lethal follow-ups, and Warlocks the master of minions. The best part, they learn from Strand and Stasis, as you'll actually start the final shape with part of the Prismatic kit unlocked, with future unlocks tied to story progression, hidden chests, and post-campaign content. No more grinding for special RNG currency. And whatever fragments you unlock is unlocked account-wide. So if you completed the campaign on Hunter, but wanted to try out Titan, you'll have more tools at your disposal from the get-go. Now to make all these disparate parts actually work together, they've had their abilities reworked or combined. For example, Stylish Executioner on Void Hunters requires defeating Void debuff targets. On Prismatic, it'll trigger by defeating a target afflicted by any subclass debuff. As for fragments, they are inspired, altered, or the combination of mono subclass fragments, like Facet of Dominance, applying Weaken to Void Grenades and Jolt to Arc Grenades. Additionally, there will be more fragments available compared to other subclasses, 21 instead of the usual 14 to 16, and you'll be able to equip more fragments, with most Prismatic aspects having 3 slots. On top of all of this, you have Transcendence, which is the culmination of light and dark during combat. You'll have 2 progress bars under your super meter. One progresses with light element, the other with dark. When both meters are full, you can Transcend, which refills your grenade and melee energy and increases the regen rate, increases weapon damage slightly, and modifies your grenade to be a combination of elements, Stasis and Solar for Hunters, Strand and Arc for Titans, and Void and Stasis for Warlocks. Besides combining powerful effects, they will be your only tool to take down special shielded enemies while inside the Traveler. And to make it work with all weapons, kinetic weapons will progress both meters, but at a reduced rate. All in all, Prismatic looks like a fun and potent subclass that doesn't make the mono-element subclasses instantly obsolete. There's always gotta be some balance. Personally speaking, I'm stoked for Prismatic Titan, and I'm a Warlock main. Glacier Grenades followed up with Consecration or a Shield Throw, it's a dream come true. So don't get discouraged with these limited combinations. What's there might surprise you. For extra info, let's recap the livestream. There, Bungie showed off the return of exotic class items, except these are different from D1. These are full exotics, or I should say, 2 exotics in 1. On Prismatic subclasses only, you'll be able to equip these class items that randomly roll with 2 exotic perks from other exotic armor pieces. And the exotic armors aren't exclusive to your class. On Titan, you can get Warlock's Ophidian Aspect and Hunter's Star Eater scales. Of course, to provide balance, these aren't the full exotic effects. Basically, half the perk efficacy of the full exotic, but you can combine 2 in 1. This will lead to some interesting builds. It is unknown at this time if you can still equip traditional exotic armor pieces. I'm not saying having both an exotic chest piece and an exotic class item, it's the question of, is the Prismatic subclass locked to using only exotic class items? We'll have to wait for more details. The other surprising bit of info was that we get a new enemy faction called the Dread. We already have Tormentors, and Subjugators were previously announced, but now there are additional enemy units. Grim are basically gunbats, flying enemies that'll shoot and hit you with a scream that'll suppress your abilities. Husk are your melee bruisers, charging headfirst at you with a deadly surprise if defeated the wrong way. Kind of like the Lucent Hive, a little creature will come flying to explode by you. And then you have the Attendant and the Weavers. These are scions that are like their Subjugator big brothers, launching stasis freezing attacks and strand grapple waves that'll hurl you in different directions. These new deadly foes aren't to be trifled with, as now we have enemies that can spam deadly and suppressing abilities right back at us. this is all a welcome surprise, getting a fully fleshed out enemy faction. New enemies, prismatic subclasses, exotic class items, a more linear campaign, and returning characters. The final shape has all the pieces to be the perfect end to the Light and Darkness saga. But that isn't the end of Destiny. Luke Smith, the executive creative director, said it himself. There is more to come after the final shape. We just have to wait until after our confrontation with the Witness to see what exactly is in store. With that, let's move on to the big content of the week, the launch of Into the Light, the free update to give players something to do before the final shape, as well as a good place to jump into the game. On login, you should automatically view a cutscene and be transported to the Hall of Champions. If not, just select it from the Into the Light node on the director's screen. Here you'll talk to Shaxx to get the Feats of Bravery quest. If he doesn't automatically give it to you, check the second page of his vendor screen in the Abandoned Quests section. This quest will be your tutorial for this update, getting you familiar with Shaxx and Arcite, the new Onslaught game mode, the Brave Arsenal, and equip you with the Gift of the Thunder Gods to bring all players up to max power. I'll have a dedicated guide coming later, but for now, if you have any questions, check out the tooltips in the corner of Shaxx's vendor screen, take the time to read the quests as they explain what you need to do, hover over the modifier icons when playing the various activities, as they'll explain the basics of Onslaught, or leave your questions down in the comments. Now for our normal reset information, remember to claim your free weekly gift of Bright Dust in the Eververse store. Those on the playlist grind, this week enjoy bonus reputation in Gambit. In the Crucible, the weekly modes are Normal Control, Rift, Showdown, and Checkmate Survival in Crucible Labs. Along with today's update, there is a new Crucible tooltip in the modifier section, clarifying what types of matchmaking is used in each playlist: Outlier, Connection, or Rank-based. For the Vanguard, the Ops playlist has Arc and Stasis Surges, and the Nightfall is Birthplace of the Vile, featuring Unstoppable and Overload champions, Void Threat, Strained and Solar Surges, and Overcharged Fusion. Turn that Braytech Osprey rocket launcher, increase the difficulty, and earn Platinum rewards, with the Adept variant available from GM difficulty. Those looking to farm endgame gear, the weekly raid is Kingsfall, the dungeon is the 30th Anniversary's Grasp of Avarice, and the exotic mission is Presage. In Crota's End, the second encounter challenge, Precarious Balance, is active, tasking you to cross the bridge when no one is on the center plate. Those looking to unlock and farm exotic armor and multi-perk weapons, on screen is the Legend and Master Law sector rotation, featuring Strained and Solar Surges. Over on Neomuna, the Vex Incursion Zone is in Zephyr Concourse, the Partition mission is Backdoor, and the campaign mission is No Time Left. Lastly, Dares of Eternity is in Loot Rotation 3, featuring gear from Season of the Splicer. With that, onto the news. We've already talked about the recent final shape stuff, so let's go over the update 7.3.6 patch notes. Most of it we already knew ahead of time, but let's go over some highlights and the new stuff. Starting with the new, Bungie fixed some issues in a few raids and dungeons, like team wiping on Crota after you defeat him, and that Warden Knight failing to spawn totems in Warlord's Ruin. What's quite cool is that the Dares of Eternity 30th Anniversary weapons got their sunset perks back. So now random drops and your crafted versions can get old perks like Surrounded, Shoot to Loot, and Snapshot Sights. Strand Fragments will now only cost 100 Strand Meditation at the Pukapon, and they fixed the complicated issue of Overload and anti-barrier effects granted through the artifact and subclass, lowering ignition damage. For what was detailed ahead of time, you have a few reworks in the Crucible, like the changing of modes available in competitive, the testing of ammo crates in upcoming Trials weekends, the lessening of primary weapon flinch, tweaks to weapon damage to make 140 hand cannons 3-tap, bring up underperforming pulses, give auto rifles a small smack on the wrist, and nerfs to a few potent outliers. For exotics, you have the reserve buff to Whisper of the Worm and 1000 Voices, along with a long-needed nerf to Quicksilver Storm. Turning to perks, Bungie tweaked Master of Arms, Magnificent Howl, and Micro Missile so they can roll on the new Brave weapons without being broken and the contributing factor to sunsetting. For the complete list of changes, check the article linked in the description. As for last week's TWID, the important section comes from the PvP Strike team, as they offered clarification on their changes to competitive modes, the Not Swap modifier, Trials, and the Terms of Service. Basically, they're trying to keep the Crucible experience as fair and balanced as possible. Other than that, make sure to keep tabs on Bungie's Help Twitter page and their main site for up-to-date info, like regarding the recently disabled Cascade Point perk due to an exploit, the limitations and guidelines for Bungie's name changes, and currently known issues. And because there was a problem with the Twitch drop tied to the Final Shape reveal stream, The tiger's body is now a universal emblem. Just input this code on Bungie.net to redeem it. Now let's take a look at our vendors. Banshee's offerings are usually kinda bad, but you never know, so check back each day for new loot. Over at 801, her weekly armor sets are Road Complex AA1 for Hunters, Devastation Complex for Titans, and High-Minded Complex for Warlocks. And her weekly shaders are Vitrified Duality, Tangled Rust, and New Monarchy Succession. Looking at the Bright Dust section of Eververse, there's a brand new ornament for the buffed 1000 Voices, the returning ornament for the Recluse, and a bunch of new and old items. Everything in stock will scroll on screen now. With that, now go have fun doing all that Into the Light content. Onslaught is quite fun, and all the loot has some pretty crazy perk combinations. If you or a friend have ever been on the fence on returning to Destiny 2, this is the time. Lots of great changes, sweet loot, and the final shape looks to be amazing, if not a little busted. Because of all the new stuff, expect a bunch of content in the coming weeks, going over Into the Light and content aimed for newer players to get up to speed. I appreciate all of your support, but if you want to show more, just leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and come swing by the Sundog Gaming Discord to make some Guardian friends. As always, I am your Commander Pika. Be kind, have fun, and I'll see you on the battlefield.